was 7 years old when I died, and what I saw on the other side is something I have spent 31 years trying to find words for. I came back with a description of Jesus that no one in my family could explain. No Sunday school teacher had ever told me what I saw. No picture book had ever shown me what I came back knowing. And the older I got, the more I understood that what I saw was not something a 7-year-old could have imagined. My name is Sarah Mitchell. I am 38 years old. I am a mother of 3. I work as a school librarian in a town in Ohio, and I am the most ordinary person you will ever meet. I tell you that because what I am about to share is not ordinary. It never was, but it happened to me, and I have carried it my whole life. And I was told very clearly when I came back that I was supposed to share it. Only it was a Wednesday in March. I was in 2nd grade. My mother had just picked me up from school, and I had a fever she thought was minor. A small thing, the kind children get. She put me to bed with children's aspirin and a glass of water and said she would check on me in an hour. I remember the ceiling of my bedroom. I remember the little glow-in-the-dark stars my dad had stuck up there for me. I remember thinking they looked funny in the afternoon light when they were not glowing yet, and then something happened in my chest, a tightness that did not feel like anything I had words for, and the ceiling got very far away, and then there was nothing. But nothing is the wrong word. There was everything. The first thing I noticed was that I was not afraid. I need you to understand what that means for a 7-year-old. Because children are afraid of things all the time. Dark rooms, loud sounds, being left alone. The moment I died, every single fear I had ever had simply stopped existing. Not because something calmed me, but because whatever fear is, whatever the thing in us that generates it, it was not present in that place. It was as if fear required a body to live in, and I had left my body behind. The second thing I noticed was the quiet, not silence the way a room is silent late at night. Something deeper than that. Something that felt like the quiet had been there since before anything else existed. Like all the sound in the world was something that had been added later, and this was what was there first. And then I became aware that I was not alone. There was a warmth that came before anything I could see. A warmth that moved toward me the way a hug moves toward you. Not from one direction, from everywhere at once. And I turned, or something in me turned. I am not sure the word turning is quite right, and I saw the light. I have tried for 31 years to describe this light to people, and I always fall short. The closest I have ever come is this. You know how when you're a child and you wake up on Christmas morning and you come downstairs and everything feels expectant and full and right, like the whole world is holding its breath. The light felt like that. Like the kind of happiness that is so complete it almost hurts, and it was alive. That is the part that I cannot explain away. The light was alive. It knew I was there. It knew my name. And it came toward me not like something moving through space, but like something that had always been there and was simply becoming visible. And then I saw him. I am going to tell you something now that I have only told a handful of people in my entire life, because every time I have said it, I have watched the same thing happen. People get quiet, and then they ask me to say it again, because there is no good explanation for how a 2nd grade girl in Ohio knew what she was about to describe. He did not look the way he looks in pictures. That is the first thing. Not the blue-eyed, light-haired figure from the paintings on the walls of my Sunday school classroom. Not the image from the children's Bible my grandmother kept on her coffee table. What I saw was someone who looked like he could have come from anywhere in the world, and nowhere in particular. His skin was warm, a color I do not have a name for, because it seemed to hold different colors in it, depending on how the light moved. His eyes were dark and very deep, the kind of deep you could fall into and never stop falling, but not in a frightening way, in the way that looking at the ocean is not frightening, even though you know how vast it is. His hands were large. I noticed his hands, and when he reached one of them toward me, I did not hesitate for a single second. I took it because I knew him, the same way you know your own father's voice in a crowded room without seeing his face. Something in me had always known this presence. He did not speak in words at first. He communicated the way you feel music, not with your ears, but with something further inside you. And the first thing he communicated was this: you are safe. You have always been safe. Why, there has never been a single moment when you were not in my sight, and I started to cry. Not the way children cry when they are hurt or frightened, the way they cry when they have been very lost for a long time, and someone they love has finally found them. He sat down with me. I do not know how to describe where we were or what the ground was like, only that it felt like rest, the way certain places feel like home the first time you are in them. And he began to show me things. Not pictures, exactly. More like understandings that moved through me, the way water moves through your hands, too large to hold all at once, but real while they were passing through. The first thing he showed me was this. He showed me that every child who has ever been alone in this world, every child who has ever been afraid in the dark, in a crib or in a house that is not safe, or in a world that has not been kind to them, not one of them has ever been alone. He showed me that there are presences with those children that cannot be seen with the eyes, and that their job is never to stop the hard thing from happening, because hard things are part of what this life is for, but to make sure that the child is held inside the hard thing, that no child, not one, has ever gone through anything difficult without something being there with them in it. I want to pause here for a moment because this hit me differently as an adult than it did at 7. At 7, I simply felt it as true and moved on. But when I became a mother, when I had my first child, and felt for the first time what it is to love something so completely that their pain becomes your pain, I went back to this in my mind, and it broke me open in the best possible way. Because there are mothers and fathers watching this right now who have lost children, or who have children going through things they cannot fix. And I want you to hear this as clearly as I heard it in that place. Your child has never once been alone in it. Not for 1 second. The second thing he showed me was harder to carry. He showed me that people, grown people, spend enormous amounts of their lives being afraid of him. Not afraid in a healthy, reverent way. Afraid in a way that keeps them far away. Afraid that he is keeping score. Afraid that they have done too much or gone too far or been too broken for too long. And he showed me what that looks like from his side, and I have to tell you, it looks like watching someone you love refuse to come inside out of the rain because they do not believe they are welcome. And he said to me, in that way of his that was more feeling than sound, tell them they are wrong. Tell them I am not keeping score. Tell them I have never once turned away a child who came to me, and every person who was ever born is still that child in my eyes. The third thing he showed me was the most personal and the most difficult. He showed me a moment that had not happened yet. I know how that sounds. I know. But he showed me a moment from my future, a moment when I would be older and life would have gotten very hard, and I would be sitting alone in a room, and I would be thinking about letting go of everything, about giving up. And he showed me that moment, and he looked at me and he said, "When you get there, remember this. Remember that you were here. Remember that I showed you what is real. And remember that the story is not over at that moment. There is more. There is always more, and you have not seen it yet." I was 19 when I sat in that room, and I remembered. And I am standing in front of you today because I remembered. After he showed me those 3 things, there was a stillness between us that was not empty. It was full in the way the pause between 2 musical notes is full. And he looked at me with those dark, deep eyes, and I understood without being told that I was going back. And unlike the adults who have had near-death experiences and describe not wanting to return, what I felt in that moment was not grief exactly. It was more like the feeling you have at the end of a very good day when someone tucks you in and promises you that tomorrow is coming, a kind of peace that has the future in it. I came back to my mother screaming. I came back to emergency lights and cold hands and the smell of antiseptic, and my father's voice somewhere outside the door saying her name. Her name, say her name. I came back to a body that felt heavy and loud and strange, and I lay there with all of that around me, and the only thing in my 7-year-old mind was the shape of his hands, and the colour of that light, and the feeling of being known all the way through, and found not disappointing. I grew up. I had the hard years he warned me about, and the good years he did not need to warn me about because I would have welcomed them on my own. I raised my children. I made my mistakes. I forgot more than I should have, and remembered just enough. But this is what I know, from a 7-year-old who died in Ohio on a Wednesday in March, and came back 3 minutes later with something she had no business knowing. He is not who you are afraid he is. He is not the scorekeeper. He is not the disappointed one. He is the one who sat down with a 2nd-grade girl in a place without floors and held her hand and showed her the truest things first, before she had learned to be afraid of them. That is what he is. And if you are someone who has been keeping your distance because you are afraid there is too much between you and him, I am asking you to hear this from a child. There is nothing between you and him but the distance you are choosing. He is not on the other side of it. He is on this side of it, and right where you are, waiting for you to stop walking away. Tell me in the comments, which of the 3 things he showed me hit closest to your heart today? Was it the children who are never alone? The ones who are afraid he is keeping score? Or was it the promise that the story is not over yet? Tell me. I read every single one. He found me at 7. He has never stopped finding me since. He will find you too.